one of the most random tournaments of the entire year, we got to see players like Faxuty qualify for a finals, a huge meta change, and so much more. Of course, this also brought a lot of drama that we'll talk about in today's video as well, between Poyo, Ritual, Cold, all of them. We got a lot to talk about in today's video. Real studio starts though, please subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as we try our best to upload daily competitive content for you guys. If you want to support me even more, the best way to do so is by using code KDOG in the Fortnite item shop. Follow me on my Twitch because we're hopefully going to be watching the Trio Cash Cup finals on Saturday. Without further ado though, let's start this video off with all of the new items in competitive. So we have a brand new rotation item in the game, the Ascend Mist. These are basically just like a wings item that have 10 total charges. You are invincible when you are flying with them for up to 5 seconds. So this is the second main rotation item I think we have in the game right now. The first one is definitely still the dashes. I would say that the dashes are better, mainly just because in a trios environment especially, the dashes you can give to your whole team compared to the wing item, which can only be used as a solo. In the very rare instance that you're able to get 3 of them for your trio, it is definitely one of the best items in the game just because there literally is no rotation, but that is just in such very rare instances. But for the player on your team that has the wing item, they just have infinitely more solo clutch potential. That was pretty much the main and only item that got added to comp though, so let's actually move on to how the tournament went now. Of course, for all these eval cups, we're going to quickly go over the opens, go over everybody that was able to qualify, and then go more in depth for the finals. So the trio in first place was none other than Acorn, Agers, and Poyo. They finished with 379 points, won 3 out of their 5 matches. If you just look at their match history after game 1, where they ended up dying off spawn, it was a 35 elimination win, 37 elimination win, 26 elimination second, and a 32 elimination win in their very final game. Just an absolute consistency masterclass, finishing with 130 elims. If you're wondering how the off spawn fight versus Peterbot went, we will talk about them later when we get on to Peterbot's trio of Cold and Ritual. Let's move on with the rest of the leaderboard first. In second place, we had Clicks, Yamzo, and Higgs, finished with the second most elims, getting 110 elims and 343 points as well. Super good opens out of them as always. Third place was Takiyeshu and Vert. Fourth place was Bakapars and Pump. Fifth place was the brand new trio of Aviv, Skittles, and Bryce. These guys play like no scrims together, but in the tournaments that they have been playing, they have still looked super good, 100% a threat to being able to qualify for LAN. Sixth place, another brand new trio that's also trying to qualify for LAN of Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts on 286. Seventh place is actually a West trio of Paper, Victor V, and Source. I think this should be a brand new official team going into West FNCS now as well. Eighth place was Nut, ninth was Seek, and then rounding out the top 10 was Death. Now in 12th place is where the fun starts. We have the trio of Ritual, Cold, and Faxuty. Now going into today, this was not supposed to be the official trio. Peterbot was supposed to be on his normal trio with Cold and Ritual, but then literally 5 minutes before the tournament started, Cold ended up tweeting out, "At Peterbot, we're waiting on you," and Peterbot simply just never showed up. The rumor right now is that his girlfriend might be in town, so instead of playing the eval cup, he is spending time with her, or he's just not able to play in general. But this is the first time that Peter has skipped an official tournament in a very long time. I know of course he didn't play some of the things in like the Star Wars season, but in seasons that actually matter, I cannot remember the last time Peterbot did not play a tournament. So of course, you know, Faxuty had to sneak his way in there, and this team was actually able to finish in 12th place, getting 257 points, winning 2 out of their 7 matches, and getting 73 elims as well. Now I feel like the thing with eval cups that we always talk about is these are genuinely hard tournaments to qualify for. Only a 7-game format in 2 hours. I think this really does just go to show how good Ritual and Cold actually are, and why their trio is arguably far and away the best in the entire world when they add Peterbot on that as well. But I still do want to give Faxuty some credit here. He played his role decently, didn't make any stupid plays to like sell or nothing like that. He was a solid contributor to the trio. We did see some beef between Poyo, Acorn, and Agers versus Ritual, Cold, and Faxuty. Poyo's trio was actually trying to Q snipe Faxuty's trio so that they weren't able to qualify for finals. Of course though, that didn't end up working out, and even in the same game that they were able to get in, Faxuty's trio just landed a different POI. We even saw like Poyo go into Faxuty's chat though and say Ritual is the worst one out of all of them, so you can still tell that even on the days that Faxuty is subbed in, there is still some real beef between Poyo, Acorn, and Agers, and Ritual, Cold, and I guess Faxuty now as well. The rest of the leaderboard was like 15th place of Mush, Shadow, and Sphinx, the brand new trio. Super happy for them and being able to qualify for finals. Recooper and Curly in 16th, and then Visuals, Brazen, and Diminished in 132nd. So we did have quite a bit of big names not be able to qualify, like 36th place of Dukes, Edgy, and Chance, a brand new trio that is also still trying to qualify for LAN. One of the most disappointing ones of the day on NA especially, in 43rd place of Bugha, Threats, and Craze. These guys have now failed to qualify for the Eval Cup finals, haven't necessarily looked the best in scrims. They are currently 4th place in FNCS Div 1 after day 1 of opens though, so not all hope is lost for these guys, and of course it is just an Eval Cup at the end of the day in a completely brand new meta, so I wouldn't necessarily say that this trio is fully cooked and they need a split or nothing like that. And I somehow forgot to mention them, but the other trio that was able to qualify from the huge split up in 24th place was Rise, G Money, and Virgo. Let's actually move on to how these insane finals went now. Now in the finals, it was absolutely dominated by a couple of different brand new trios. The first one that looked so good today was Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx. Now if you look at their match history today, this trio had the best average placement, getting a 3.25 average placement, and their matches were an 8 elimination win, 2 elimination 5th, 5 elimination 6th, and an 8 elimination win in their very final game, winning the most games in this entire tournament with 2 out of the 4 games for a brand new trio that quite literally just formed 2 days ago is so impressive to me. This team is also an insane mid and low ground trio, so there might be some competition for clicks later on because Muzz was absolutely dominating the mid ground layers. Speaking of clicks, in 2nd place was the trio of Clicks, Higgs, and Yamzo. They were able to get 1 win today, winning game 2. They also tied for being the 2nd most consistent team of the day, getting an average placement of 3.75. Their match history today was a 5 elimination 7th, 12 elimination win, 7 elimination 5th, and a 10 elimination 2nd in the very final game to Muzz's trio. So this team was so close to being able to get 2 out of 4 wins today as well. These guys are currently still unconned at the Supernova Academy, and to me, they are still probably the favorites going into FNCS. Of course, with the current off-spawn situation between Peterbot and Pollo, if that changes though, my mind will also probably change on that. 3rd place is the LAN qualified trio of Visuals, Braids, and Diminish, the last team that was able to get a win, winning game 3 today with an 8 elimination win. This trio was contested off spawn, and they didn't really have any other good games besides the game they were able to get a win, but the only time they made it into endgame was the game that they were able to win, so that should be a positive sign of things to come for this trio, and they looked very good. Now a trio in 4th place that I was honestly really surprised were not able to pull off any game wins today was Agers, Acorn, and Pollo. If you look at their match history, they were able to absolutely frag out in this tournament. They finished with the most elims, getting 38 total elims. Their match history was a 7 elimination 10th, 14 elimination 2nd, 6 elimination 4th, and 11 elimination 11th. The reason why I was so surprised they weren't able to win any games though was because this was the first Sat Lobby finals where they had Demon's Domain completely uncontested. If you guys are wondering, no, Faxuty, Ritual, and Cole did not end up conning Pollo a single game today. This was fully Pollo's domain for all 4 games, and they were not able to get any wins out of it. It's not like they necessarily like super struggled though. They quite literally placed 2nd place in one of the games, and it is an Eval Cup at the end of the day, so I really wouldn't be too worried about these guys. But still, definitely just a notable thing to look out for in the future. In 5th place was a trio that surprised me so much today of Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts. These guys have looked absolutely disgusting since they formed together. They were contested off spawn every single game by Victor V's trio. They were able to win 4-0 off spawn, and then they went on to get this match history right here: a 12 elimination 2nd, 6 elimination 6th, 6 elimination 3rd, and a 13 elimination 4th in their very final game, putting their average placement tied for the 2nd best of the day at a 3.75. The fighting power on this team could have some real discussions for being a top 3 fighting trio on the entire region. We definitely do still need to see more out of these guys, and I'm very excited to see how they're actually going to perform in the Divisional Cup finals on Saturday. But as of right now, the vibes have to be absolutely amazing. They've shown that they can win off spawn, and they have to be so confident going forwards. 6th place was another brand new trio of G Money, Virgo, and Rise. They had some pretty solid games, getting a 13 elimination 3rd and a 4 elimination 9th. As of right now though, of course, Muzz looks like he is the one currently benefiting from the split up with Rise, as he finished in 1st place with multiple wins, while Rise finished in 6th place with none. 7th place was Listen Status and Kyson. 8th place was Taki. 9th place was Death, and then rounding out the top 10 was Seek, Dash, and Veer. Some of the renames we had just outside that top 10 was like 12th place of Reed, Cooper, and Curly. They only had 2 good games today with a 2 elimination 5th and a 10 elimination 3rd. This is a trio that has been a little bit slow coming out the gate so far in this brand new season, but also wouldn't really be too worried about them. Hopefully they can do good in the finals on Saturday also. 14th place, another brand new trio of Aviv, Skittles, and Bryce. They were actually contested contesting, visuals brazen and diminished, and they had a couple of weird off-spawn fights where sometimes they would split, sometimes they would make it into endgame. When they were actually able to make it to endgame though, they were so insane. They got a 7 elimination second and a 6 elimination third, showing that this is a team that really could do some scary stuff this season if they're able to get an uncon POI. And then unfortunately in 26th place, we did have the trio of Ritual, Cold, and Faxuty. They were not really able to make it off spawn any of their games. They decided to not contest Poyo off spawn. They ended up contesting clicks in the very final game for some reason. But hey, even just making an Eval Cup finals in the first place should be a massive accomplishment for these guys. So a pretty solid tournament either way from them. That was pretty much all of the big names on NA. Let's actually move on to how EU went now. Now in EU, we saw a lot of really big names struggle to be able to qualify today, as well as some of the big names that were able to qualify really struggled in the finals. Let's start off with everybody that was able to qual though. Like first place, the trio that we unfortunately still have not got to see play any Div Cups yet of iDrop, Yapko, and Panzer. Now, this is going to be the official trio when FNCS time actually comes around. Yapko though unfortunately still is in Div 2 on EU, so he needs to make his way up into Div 1 to be able to actually play with these guys for the last Div Cup before FNCS. They were able to finish with 315 points though, win 2 out of their 6 matches, and get the most amount of elims of 78 elims, really showing the potential that these guys have when they're actually able to play together. Second place was Chris, Tayson, and Chicho, our LAN qualified team on 279. Third place is a team that we need to be able to qual LAN of Chat, MrSavage, and Rezon on 273. I'm going to talk about this team a lot more in the finals. They had an absolute killer opens though, only having one game where they didn't finish inside of the top 5. Great opens performance from them. Unfortunately, when we talk about the finals though, I cannot say the same thing for it. 4th place was Cool, 5th place was Lens, 6th place was TD, 7th was Rakuzon, 8th place is Mattis, 9th place is another brand new trio of Sky Scroll and Thomas HD. These guys are still trying to get things figured out. Really haven't had any tournaments where they've had an uncontested finals, and that did end up continuing today as well. And then rounding out the top 10 was Nicola. There was only a couple of other big names that were able to qualify, like 25th, the defending FNCS champions of EU of Venya, Pixie, and Marius. A team that I wouldn't be surprised if they win the next FNCS in 31st place of Pingwalks and Malabuka, but that was honestly legit about it. I'm just gonna start listing off some of the big names that were not able to qualify, like 38th of Sedihari and Cami, 40th of Moneymaker, 47th of Pixstarm and Demas. Honestly, I've been so hit or miss this season, but I feel like that is just Pixstarm and Demas ever since they really formed together. One day they'll look like a trio that can't even make a finals. The next day they'll look like one of the best teams in all of EU. I think that just does still come with players who are still relatively young and still not that experienced for how good their placements have actually been. We had for Doxy's trio in 66, though this also was the first Sat Lobby finals that MrSavage is going to get an uncontested Supernova Academy. Shark finished in 84th, Queasy finished in 88th with Akira, and then unfortunately a player that has honestly been really good in the recent Eval Cups, pretty much qualifying for all of them, was not able to qualify today, finishing in 141st place of Mongraal, Kaido, and Haijo. They are still looking really insane though after day 1 of the Divisional Cup Open, so I'm hoping that they're able to kind of just put this tournament behind them, lock in for tomorrow, and make sure that they can qualify for the Sat Lobby finals of the Div Cup. Let's actually move on to how the finals went now. Now in the finals, in first place, the team that was able to just win one game today, and it was the very final game of the day, was Cheatin', Mappy, and Momsy. Now, they were honestly so consistent in this Eval Cup finals, finishing with things like a 5 elimination 6, 13 elimination 3rd, 2 elimination 12th, and then in the very final game, finally being able to pick up a win, getting an 11 elimination win. I feel like I also need to talk about this for a lot of the teams that weren't able to qualify out of the opens. I really am not too concerned about them, just because this is a completely new meta day. There were so many different brand new items that got introduced into the meta, so these pros didn't really have enough time to be able to fully adapt to it, even though I really don't like that word. So I really am not putting too much weight on this Evo Cup for how good I think these trios are actually going to be. Second place though, a trio that I've been so high on recently of Pingwalks and Malabuka. They were able to win game 3 today, getting a 6 elimination win. Their best games other than that were a 6 elimination 7th and a 3 elimination 6th. Not necessarily like the most fraggy day for them. They only finished with 15 total elims, but they are continuing to get Demon's Domain completely uncontested, and we know how big that is going to be going into things like FNCS. Third place, the trio that was able to win game 2 was Helkis, Rakuzon, and Velry. They got a 7 elimination win in game 2. Not the most consistent games outside of that, but hey, they had the same amount of elims as Ping, Walks, and Malabuka, with only getting 2 games inside of the top 10. So pretty solid day for them as well. And then the final team in 4th place, the trio that won game 1 was Gold, Whack, and Faxuty. They got a 10 elimination win in game 1, but unfortunately for them, they were contested off spawn by Toose's trio, and based off their match history, it looks like they ended up going 1-3 off spawn, but the only game that they were able to make it off spawn, they got a 10 elimination win, so that is still a sign of promising things to come for these guys. Hopefully if they're able to get completely uncon in the future. Moving on with the rest of the leaderboard, in 5th place, the FNCS champions. I feel like I say this every single Eval Cup finals. Benya, Pixie, and Marius either win 2 games or they win none, and today was a day where they won no games. Their best matches though were an 8 elimination 4th, 5 elimination 10th, and an 11 elimination 11th. I am pretty surprised that they didn't win any game, especially since they are definitely the best high ground team in this entire lobby. But like I was talking about with the meta, the wing meta in this is still a lot to get used to for these guys. And even though the wings aren't the best in a trios meta, it is still a very good item for a solo that's trying to make a play on high ground. Only 1 game out of all 4 though, placing inside of the top 9 is a little bit disappointing, but I don't think it's anything concerning out of them. 6th place was arguably the most consistent team of the day that was not able to get a win of iDrop, Yapko, and Panzer. Now these guys had 2 rough mid-game deaths, but the games that they were able to make it into the end game, they finished 2nd place both times with an 11 elimination 2nd and a 9 elimination 2nd as well. This is one of the teams that I am going to be so excited about going into FNCS, because I think these guys can not only be absolute consistency merchants, but I think they will also be able to pile up the elims as well, as we saw today. These are all 3 players that are also just very fundamentally good players as well. They should be able to constantly get a good amount of surge, and it's looking good for Yapko right now in terms of getting to Div 1, so I'm just hoping that he can finish it off, and we'll finally get to see these guys play next week. 7th place was Focus, Mixon, and Uppel, and then in 8th place is a trio that I really want to talk about of Chap, MrSavage, and Rezon. Now, as I said earlier, this was their first set lobby finals where that they were able to get a completely uncontested Supernova Academy. And what did they do with that Supernova Academy? They got a 0 elimination 18th, 14 elimination 5th, 3 elimination 19th, and a 4 elimination 20th, with arguably having one of the best POIs on the entire map, either the first or the second best depending on who you ask, and they only had 1 good game to show for it. And of course the 14 elimination 5th was a very good game. This finals, if we had to like say one reason why it went bad for them, it was kind of just Chap dying a lot, but these guys still have the exact same strategy week after week of them in a set lobby finals just keying for their storm surge. And they are a pretty solid fighting team, but I don't think any of us would consider them like a top 3 fighting team on the region or nothing like that. If there's one thing that these guys don't lack, it is confidence. But the thing about being a fighting team, especially in such a high surge meta, is if one of you guys die and has to get rebooted, your surge is pretty much just cooked. Your game is pretty much just cooked as well. And that is what we saw happen to these guys so much today. They would go end up getting in like a 3v3 engagement mid game to try to get their surge. Chap would often be the first one to die, and then they could have like 8 eliminations, get into endgame, and still be below surge because they had to reboot. No, I don't want to like fully blame this on Chap or anything and say he is the reason why they did so bad today. I wish I saw these guys with a little bit of a better surge plan that isn't just W key all the time, because especially for a trio that is trying to make globals, they are going to need straight consistency in a grand finals lobby if they want to finish inside of that top 10. And as of right now, they are just majorly risking it with how they play each of their games out. 10th place was Axe Force, and then rounding out the top 10 was Contri, Pradaj, and Finnick. Only had a couple of big names outside of that top 10, like 13th place of Sky Scroll and Thomas HD. They were unfortunately only able to get into 3 matches today, and their best games out of all of that was a 4 elimination 6th. Pretty decent day from them, nothing too crazy though. Chris, Tayson, and Chicho, all things considered, had a pretty consistent day as well, getting 2 back-to-back 3rd places at the end of this tournament, even though they finished in 17th place. And that was honestly about it for all of the big names today. Let's move on to the final kin stats now, starting off with in 10th place, getting 3,294 damage is Chicho. 9th place is Momsy. 8th is Marius. 7th is Pixie. 6th is Cheatin. 5th is Snazy. 4th of Yapko. 3rd of Focus. 2nd of TD. And then in 1st place, getting 4,069 damage, but only a 1.2 damage ratio, was Craig. Now, I don't want to be the one to say it, but normally when you have a lot of damage and a low damage ratio, it's normally because you're surge trading, but I didn't really get to watch him. I'm just going based off of what I see from the numbers right here. The stat leaders today was honestly pretty surprising to me as well. The most amount of elims in this Eval Cup Finals. If you had to make a prediction, who would you say? A lot of you guys would probably say maybe somebody like Pixie, maybe like a Walks. No, it was MrSavage on 13 elims. IGL really getting it done for the trio. I want to give some quick flowers to him because he played absolutely insane today. Even though it wasn't like the most consistent day in the finals, he really does look like he is fully back now. Like the skill that he lost from his mini like 3-week retirement / break, whatever, it looks like it is fully back now and he is starting to improve again. His fighting ability looks like it's there. His IGLing is getting better as well. I'm still very excited for the future of his trio. They just definitely do still have some things they need to work out. 21 assists for Finnick, and then a 2.16 damage ratio for the damage ratio king himself of Thomas HD. Other than that though, remember, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as we try our best to upload daily competitive content for you guys. We're trying to hit 110,000 subscribers, so if you're new around here, please just hit that sub button and turn on notifications. Please just go K-Dog in the Fortnite item shop if you guys want to support me even more. YouTube says I'm showing one of these 2 videos up on the screen right now, so go check them out if you guys haven't already. Follow me on my Twitch and my Twitter. If you guys want to watch any of these tournaments with me, I'm hopefully going to be watching the Div Cup Finals on Saturday, so make sure you guys just go drop a follow on the Twitch. Thank God for another day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.